Welcome to This Explainer. We are diving straight into a decades-old mystery that has literally driven people to the brink of madness. Imagine you're just sitting in your living room, trying to relax, and you hear this constant, heavy drone. It just never stops. And the wildest part? No one else in the room can hear it.
It sounds like something right out of a sci-fi movie, right? But imagine a sound that only 2% of the global population can hear. Yep, just 2%. For the vast majority of us, the world sounds perfectly normal. But for this tiny fraction of people, their everyday life is soundtracked by this endless, maddening drone. It's a bizarre phenomenon that has totally baffled doctors and sufferers alike for decades. You can imagine the intense frustration when people go to the doctor desperate for help, and the medical professionals just can't find anything wrong.
So, what does it actually sound like? Well, since the 1970s, this tiny fraction of the population has been tormented by a noise that sits right on the very edge of their auditory range. They describe it as sounding exactly like a distant, idling diesel truck, or maybe a low, rumbling pump. It's not that typical high-pitched ringing you get with normal tinnitus. No, this is a heavy, physical rumble, and they literally cannot escape it. You can plug your ears, you can go hide in a quiet room, you can bury your head under a pillow to sleep, but that low-frequency diesel engine sound, it just keeps idling away in the background.
Section 1. Taos, Ground Zero. Let's set the scene in Taos Valley, New Mexico. Taos has long been described by historical figures and the people who live there today as a literal spiritual vortex. It has this incredibly rich culture deeply tied to its centuries-old adobe architecture and historic churches, like the famous San Francisco Diocese Church. It's a place where many folks are perfectly willing to suspend their disbelief, you know? It's this gorgeous land of miracles and myths that has always attracted everyone from artists to counterculture icons looking for deeper spiritual significance.
But there's another side to it. The valley is also completely steeped in paranormal legends. We're talking haunted haciendas, weeping ghosts down by the streams, and even the gruesome, totally unsolved 1929 murder of Arthur Rochford Manby. So it's actually kind of fascinating that the Taos Hum emerged right in the middle of this wildly mystical environment. I mean, think about it. When you have a town that already casually accepts tales of phantom footsteps and ghostly apparitions, adding a mysterious, invisible hum to the mix almost feels par for the course. Section 2. Hunting for the source.
But the people actually hearing this inescapable rumble weren't just going to chalk it up to ghosts. They naturally demanded real answers. Was it a secret government project? The public outcry escalated so quickly that it led to a massive congressional investigation involving scientists from the University of New Mexico and even the Air Force. By 1993, the complaints were so loud, pun definitely intended, that it blew up into a major public issue, and by 1995, the U.S. Congress actually authorized a formal scientific investigation to hunt down this elusive noise. They brought in the absolute heavy hitters: manufacturing engineers, hearing research scientists, national laboratory experts, the whole shebang. This all-star team scoured the valley looking for environmental sources or maybe clandestine government tech, conducting extensive acoustic, geodynamic, magnetic, and electromagnetic tests. They seriously left no stone unturned. They set up highly sensitive equipment all over the Taos Valley, testing for literal vibrations in the earth, invisible electromagnetic fields, and acoustic anomalies. They were hunting for any physical machine or geographical quirk that could possibly be generating this low-frequency bass. And the result of all that intense searching? Absolutely nothing. Nothing external could be found, leaving the entire mystery completely unsolved for years. I mean, zero. Zip. The scientific instruments picked up absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. There was no secret underground diesel pump, no weird magnetic field messing with people's heads. To the scientists and their gear, the environment was perfectly quiet. But to that 2% of the population, the noise was as loud and maddening as ever. It was a massive, frustrating dead end.
Section 3. The Inner Ear Culprit. So, if the sound wasn't coming from the desert of New Mexico, where exactly was it coming from? Well, a researcher named Franz Günter Frosch decided to pivot and investigate human biology itself. It turns out the true culprit hides in what scientists call the VCIA, or vestibule cochlea interaction area. Now, this is a highly specialized region deep inside your inner ear. Traditionally, scientists thought the vestibule, which is the part that controls your balance, and the cochlea, which handles your actual hearing, were mostly separate systems. But actually, scratch that. It turns out they interact heavily in this one space where mechanical energy and electrical energy are just constantly converting back and forth.
It's basically a biological loop.
Mechanical energy in your vestibule converts into electrical energy, and then it converts right back into mechanical energy in your outer hair cells. And this creates a self-sustaining resonant hum. Think of it like when a microphone gets placed way too close to a speaker, creating that awful, screeching feedback loop. Only here, it's a microscopic loop happening entirely inside your ear. Your outer hair cells are basically acting like tiny piezoelectric machines, vibrating and creating a literal sound pressure wave right inside your own head. It's the synchronous oscillation that tunes and amplifies itself into that maddening diesel truck rumble. Crazy, right?
Section 4. Solving the Hum. Okay, but how do researchers know for sure that this is an internal biological glitch and not just some sneaky external sound in the environment? Well, they proved this by comparing how the hum reacts to specific bodily movements versus how a normal external noise would react. Think about it for a second. If you hear a real, actual truck outside your window, turning your head left or right doesn't magically turn the truck's engine off. But Frosch discovered that this particular hum behaves very differently from normal environmental audio.
For example, the hum actually stops during rapid horizontal head rotation. And while your hearing thresholds deteriorate during a Valsalva maneuver, which is, when you plug your nose and blow to pop your ears, the hum itself persists. This proves it's generated internally by your vestibular system. More than half of the people who experience this motion-sensitive hum reported that if they purposefully shake their head horizontally, the noise just completely stops. Because that rapid movement literally knocks the vestibular neurons out of their resting discharge frequency range. And during that Valsalva maneuver, your external hearing drops by about 14 decibels, but the hum stays at the exact same volume. Plus, it interacts with external sounds to form measurable acoustic beats inside the ear. This is pure, undeniable biological evidence.
So the huge takeaway here is that the infamous Taos hum is actually an extremely low-frequency tinnitus caused by a resonant circuit in your own inner ear. After decades of wild ghost hunts, government conspiracy theories, and massive scientific field tests, the answer was literally inside us the whole time. It's not an environmental mystery, it's a biological one. It is your own body generating this subthreshold background oscillation that somehow crosses the line into a perceivable, completely inescapable frequency.
Which leaves us with this final, genuinely fascinating question to ponder. If your body is a complex biological machine, what soundtrack is it secretly playing right now? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. The next time you sit down in a perfectly quiet room, take a moment to really, truly listen. You might just catch a faint rumble and realize it's just the sound of your own machinery idling. Keep learning, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.